Hi, and thanks for joining the SJ Child Show. The SJ Child Show brings value to families through education and resources. But the SJ Child Show isn't just about me, it's about us as a community. Join me as we help educate and support our community, help bring kindness and love and inclusion to all. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and watch. I really appreciate all the support from all of the viewers and listeners, and I just want to let you know I want you to join me on this journey. Come and follow my social media, and let's do this together. Enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to the SJ Child Show. I'm your host, SJ Child, and today my guest is Danielle Terrell. And Danielle and I met in a, now I'm trying to think of the name of the group, of course. That's what leaves my brain at the last minute. Autism with No Borders. Is that what it is?
Autism Knows No Borders,
Yes,
from the Global Autism Community.
Exactly. There we go. And I'm so excited to have her on the show today because not only does she have a wide variety of experiences, but it's just so passionate and compassionate. And I'm just grateful that she's here with me today. So without further ado, hello, Danielle. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation and so happy that we were able to connect recently.
Yeah, me too as well. Thank you so much for your willingness and your time to be here with me this evening, which no one will know because, it'll be whenever they're listening to it. So let's just start at kind of the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then what got you into the field.
Sure. So growing up, I had a strong interest in psychology and ended up majoring in psychology for undergrad. And then I took a little tour off the course and hopped down to Orlando, Florida, where I participated in an internship. And that was just a personal goal for me. And I had a lot of fun down there. I worked at Walt Disney World and gained some truly once-in-a-lifetime experience down there. And then afterwards, I thought, all right, what am I going to do with my degree? How am I going to use it? For the longest time, I knew I wanted to help people, but I just never knew how. So I went back up to New York, where I was raised, and I ran into an individual at a local CVS that I had recognized from my childhood. He was part of a special education classroom in my school district, and that just poured in all these different memories of working with individuals with disabilities and just these little experiences throughout life that were just kind of just another day in the life. At the time, I didn't realize how impactful it would be for my future. So that's how I realized, there's jobs out there that I can support others, and that's how I can help others. So I started working with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities at a day hab. So what that is, it's a program where you go out into the community and you do different types of volunteer work and community integration. So that was a lot of fun, but the winter was coming and I wanted to head back to Florida. So I made that move and started working with children as a RBT, or registered behavior technician, providing ABA, applied behavior analysis services at the in-home setting. And then I transitioned to working in elementary school. So I got experience in-home and working in a school district. And then I was like, wow, I really miss working with adults. And one of the things that I learned a lot about working with adults kind of open up my doors to the residential side of things. And, what happens when people grow up, where are they going to live if they don't have a family member to live with, or if they may not be able to live independently.
Yeah. Big thing. Weighs heavily on plenty of parents and grandparents or guardians' minds, right? And hearts. So much.
A lot to think about.
Yeah. We figure, and you never know what the possibilities are. Things could change anytime, but we're prepared for our son to live with us for as long as necessary. And we hope we can make the right accommodations that he can gain independence. But if, we'll go with it as it, we'll kind of go with the flow and see how it plays out. But we definitely have like that in mind for our future. So
Sure.
it's easier to plan when you have that piece there. So it's not like shock and awe, when
Right.
18 comes or something. So yeah, no, we know and we're ready. Yeah, it's interesting to plan a life like that.
A lot to think about. And, luckily now there's so many more resources and, hopefully we continue to progress in the field. But some of the individuals that I worked with actually grew up in institutions. So learning about life in institutions and that, prompted more of like the advocacy in me to teach others more about things like that and like hearing their firsthand accounts. And that's how I got into residential work. And I worked at an assisted living facility for adults with disabilities in Florida. And then the pandemic happened and everyone's lives changed. Yes. And I moved again. And I was working in Virginia, right outside of DC, and I worked in a group home. So there was 5 individuals there. And every individual that I've worked with has like touched my life in so many ways and just inspired me for this work. And while this was all happening, I was also earning a master's degree. So this past December, I received my Master's of Science in Developmental Disabilities with a concentration in ABA and a concentration in leadership and advocacy.
I love that. I think that congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And we definitely have lots of great things to touch on. So tell us what you're doing now.
Yeah. So now I'm back in Massachusetts, where I went to undergraduate, and I am a BT at a middle school. So with this experience, now I've worked with pretty much every age group. The youngest individual I've worked with was 2 years old. The oldest is 87.
Wow.
So middle schools that, in between kids are getting ready to be a part of their transition planning.
Every kid, not to mention a neurodiverse developmentally kid. Yeah, I can't talk, but I'll just let you keep going.
So yeah, that's where I am now. I'm working with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade kiddos. And it's just, again, taught me a lot.
Oh, I bet. And you gain this level of patience and understanding that I think you not only see for the kids you're working with, but you kind of take that into the community too. And it brings a little bit more as far as, I guess my own experience, but compassion, just like a law across the board, and I'm more open to think, well, maybe this child that is coming over from up down the street, is looking for connection rather than anything else. And it's so interesting how when we really look at the psychology of children and start to see their needs and base them more on their human needs rather than what people look as their behavioral problems, if you will, I think that that's such a hard thing for people to change their perspective, but the most important.
Yeah. Community is so important. And that just also goes along with like individual needs and, treating everyone as an individual and seeing, what they want. And, like our motto with the Global Autism Project, doing with and not for, and just, truly connecting with someone on an individual level is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, each individual person with autism has their own strengths and challenges, and just learning how to strategize ways to help anyone, help yourself during the day are ways that we can help, But what do you think, now that you're with that age group, what do you find maybe is the hardest struggle? I would imagine hormones and puberty.
Yeah, I mean, hormones, are the kids going through a growth spurt? And then factor in the pandemic and just
Yeah.
struggling with different changes.
Mm.
I mean, especially for like the sixth graders in Massachusetts, middle school, sixth, seventh, and eighth. So
Okay.
transitioning from elementary school to sixth grade, and then the programs that these kids are in, is it the right fit for them? Are they getting all the supports that they need? And then in the school system, is there enough staff with the pandemic? Because I'm pretty sure across the country, maybe even across the world, there is a shortage with educators and support staff.
Ah, that's so hard too. And I know for our family, we completely stopped, having in-home therapy.
Mhm.
But at the same time, my husband, who also has Asperger's, came home, and wasn't working. And all of a sudden I had this expert, if you will, in his own sense and individuality to help me guide our children in the right direction. And we've just kind of like designed a system to work around with our family that has been so successful and so happy. So, yeah, it's incredible what we can do when we put our focus and intention into helping others, to help themselves.
Yeah, it just goes to show, not everything from the pandemic is bad. And, you learn so
Yeah.
much about yourselves, about each other. So that's awesome that you guys
Yeah.
had that experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it made up for the fact that we weren't getting those extra, pieces of therapy, pieces of social interaction that he was starting to really, really progress from. There were definitely times, and I'm sure that I was, I didn't know when or what time I was going to bring this up, but I'm sure that you get a little bit of backlash just because ABA is so like there's this fine line, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I completely agree with anyone who has, had a bad experience or has had trauma. Absolutely. My heart goes out to you. I apologize. We're so sorry to hear that. And for others who it has been absolutely terrific and wonderful for, we're so happy for you and we congratulate you for that. It's such again an individual experience for
Mhm.
every single therapist, parent, child, sibling. There's just not a one size fits all.
Okay.
And for it to kind of be put up and have rocks thrown at it and things, it's so hard to have both sides of the story, I guess, to be able to say, yes, there were at the beginning, we had therapists that,
Sure.
our son has an IQ of like a college professor, and he was sitting down at the table for 45 minutes at a time, 45 minutes to say the word dog. And it got to the point where I was like, he is so much more than this. Like, we have got to push him into a little bit more. And it was when we decided, this therapy, whatever the company, this isn't working for us. And that's okay.
Mhm.
But learning how to do that at the beginning is really scary because you think it's like the word for all. This is the law. It's the whatever, the guidelines I have to follow. But parents, it's really important for you to take the reins, create a team, build a
Yes.
team around your child and your family and to all the individuals involved. And it was when we, did that and we found some luck with, in fact, our RBT went from our old company to the new company, to a new company, and we followed with her. And the change was incredible. It was more of a natural play setting, which our son just thrived and he just hit, you know, some goals that we never anticipated or even had thought we could place on him. But here he was thriving and thriving and thriving. So, yes, taking that social part out of the situation with COVID was such a bummer. And we still talk about them sometimes, he'll bring them up. But for the most part, just the the things that we gained in that time period, I felt like he like tripled the amount of growth within the shorter time period that we've been with the newer company. So it is so important for people to understand that it's okay to have a non it's okay to have a bad experience if it's not, hurting anyone, if nobody's being like physically hurt or anything. But
Sure.
sometimes from those, we know what we don't want. And sometimes that's important information to have.
Yeah, and also just shows like how powerful parents are as advocates for their children. And I think sometimes maybe if a parent has just a brand new diagnosis, or they're overwhelmed with anything, helping parents, in any way that they need, and like providing that additional support and guidance. And that's one of my like long-term goals, is to be able to support families and, what do you need? How can I help you? Reminders that, advocate for your child. What if something's not working, that's okay. Speak with, if you're in the ABA program, speak with the BCBA. If you don't like it, change it. There's a lot of things out there, and it does take a community, and, to build that community and support and reinsurance is so important.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I agree. And I think that you can obviously have seen so much success, or maybe seen where, this didn't work out maybe with some kids. And so we had to try, and strategize other things.
Yeah, definitely. From like in school, in home, changing things. One thing doesn't work, let's try it this way. Collaborating. I mean, the communication within the school is so important, with all the different team members, and, with the family having their input. And then, working at home, what is your day-to-day life like? I've worked with some families who maybe like not sure, like if they want to do like have a special diet for their kid, or what their routine is like. So being like really flexible and just trying different things and being really open. And I think that's like one of the things why I'm really proud of my experience, that it is so diverse, like having a lot of different lenses to look through, different ages, different settings. I think it's really, really great.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, when our son was diagnosed a decade ago, and there wasn't as much information, then, and there wasn't as much support in our community. So that was kind of tricky. And I really had to navigate that alone. And it was hard, but at the same time, my husband was fantastic. Well, come to find out years later, he is on the spectrum. And so now, like you say, having a different lens to like look through and be like, okay, I have accommodated this man in my life for, so many years now. I've done this for him around eating. I've done this around social behaviors. I've done this around whatever. Like, okay, I can do the same for my child. Like, I understand this in a whole different way, other than just trying to help him to be more comfortable acting like us. I mean, if that's fair to say, and rather putting it back on, okay, well, how can we make your life more comfortable? What can we do to accommodate you, rather than how can we change you to help us be, this smooth running wheel, when it was like, okay, this isn't working.
Right. Yeah.
Because there wasn't true, like, yes, we're trying to get him therapy and learn, but were we really being flexible and really looking at his human needs, his sleep patterns, which are crazy. I call them the moon cycles, because he's on for 2 weeks, off for 2 weeks, like daytime, nighttime, daytime, nighttime. So I set up homeschool. Doesn't hurt anyone, right? It really doesn't. Like, it's accommodating. If he's old enough, he's 12. So it's not like he's not 3 or 4. I don't have to, go up and help him go to the bathroom, or so he's really self-independent now, that he can fill his own water bottle up, use the restroom, get a bag of chips is what his favorite meal. And so, he has access to those things. And the more of freedom and independence we allow him, the more biologically regulated he is, which is natural, I think.
Yeah. And that's so great, that you're sharing all this for, other parents out there. And, more conversations are so important, and hearing from self-advocates is so important. I went to a fundraiser recently, and sadly, I was very disappointed, but I kind of just look at every experience as a learning experience. And, I was there for a reason. So like, after being frustrated for a little while, it's like, oh, okay, like, this is a conversation that needs to be had. Here's a fundraiser that's been going on for years to support autism and communication devices, programs. But where are the self-advocates, and where are people that are, teaching and raising awareness? Because for me, it felt like just a party, like, yeah, we raise money, but, where's the depth? Where's the education and the, the why? And, that will just help the field more and more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. I hope that we can just build like a super team, right? And just go around changing, and all of us connected in one way or another. And I think that it's so important that we have these kind of conversations and just show the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it in one, because all of it together represents the whole, which is really beautiful. And it does come with challenges, and that's okay. Like, that's what we have therapists for, to help us strategize through those things. What are some basic, let's see, what's a good way to start? What's some basic getting your kid ready for school in middle school age strategies that you might help with some clients?
Sure. So if we're speaking about maybe like the start of the school year, definitely like touring the middle school if that's available, to see like what the environment looks like. If, a child's coming from a small elementary school to a big middle school, that's a huge transition. There's going to be a lot of external stimuli, a lot of changes in pace and, different people. And then, reaching out to the school, is there a community for maybe like kids to meet each other, or like social skills group to meet before going into that school? And then also making sure that, their services from elementary school are getting carried over to middle school. If someone has a one-on-one in elementary school, they probably going to need a one-on-one in middle school. So, can the school provide that supports? And, if it's a longer school day, is that something that your child's ready for? It do they need to come in increments, or are they ready for a full day of school? So really, and then team meetings, is everyone collaborating? Is it just two people, and really advocating for a strong collaboration of team? Are there observations in elementary school that are going to help set up your child for success in middle school?
Oh, those are so important. I think that that's a really, really valuable for all kinds of parents and of all types of kids, right? But so, so important for the neurodiverse kiddos to get that head start into what it might look like when environment's going to change. Yeah, so important. When you get into the school and, parents are kind of going throughout, what is something important, like you said, kind of like team collaboration? What happens if you aren't getting the help you need? How do you help parents or suggest that they move forward with that? Because I think that a lot of parents feel lost and scared and don't know how to access help.
Definitely, I think would start with building rapport with families. I mean, in my experience, with at-home therapy, one of the first things in training, build rapport. The first 2 weeks are just rapport. So, that could be the same in the school district. So opening up a line of communication, whether it's, after school, whether it's through email, and, really showing support for your child and the families, and having that communication. If it's maybe they prefer, like, something on a spreadsheet, like a little daily communication log. And I think building like a strong relationship, and just being a strong professional, with your work ethic, and, really caring about your job, can be really impactful for a family and for a child.
Oh, I bet. No, I wish that there were, were more people like you when my
Yeah.
son was kind of we ended up, homeschooling, which has worked out for our schedule anyways. Like nobody was going to let him come to school 2 weeks at a time, or, not miss 2 weeks and go to school 2 weeks. So it works out. But yeah, but there was definitely a time where I was like, this can't be happening. Like I'm not getting support where I'm needed to. And it's really hard. So personally myself, like I also just built built a community of friends of other autism parents that we could just really connect and rely on one another, to support one another, to know that we're there, to understand, like to say, I get it. My cupboards got emptied out and there's powder all over the bathroom floor. Like I've been there. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And just, and the good things too. Yes. My child finally got out of pull-ups at the age of 7. Like we're celebrating now.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Like I kind of tease, and people might find this funny or not, that your child has their whole life to go to the bathroom, and so being patient with those needs and those things to help them is so much better for them than pushing or trying to make things happen on your time.
Yeah.
So be mindful.
Yeah, definitely. Being mindful, and, everyone has their own path.
Yeah.
And, go with the flow and see what happens. There's no, just like, when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, there's no
Exactly.
one way.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too, maybe, kind of the mantra that I've lived by is taking a leap of faith and just really trusting your intuition. We have it for a reason.
Yeah.
Just, go with it. You don't have to go with, what person A, B, and C says to do. You're
So
your own
true.
person, your own family, your own child. Like, believe that,
Yeah. No, it's so interesting you say that too. And I hate that I'm telling all of these stories. I apologize. But they're all relevant, right? But there was this interesting time, and I think that this will be really great for some parents maybe that come up against the same thing. My son was, at district school. No, it was not going to work for us, the public school. And so we put ourselves in a lottery for an autism school. And 2 or 3 years later, got the call that we had made the lottery. And it was the first time that we were going to enter a school just for autism. And I should have been the most excited, totally ready, ready to go. But I had this gut. I had this total rock and this sick feeling in my stomach. And, I talked to, of course, my family and my husband and everybody. Oh, you have to give it a chance. You have to. It's autism school. He deserves the chance. You have to give it a chance. All of these things. And of course, I'm just fighting my brain and my gut the whole time. So months and months go by. We spent the entire summer doing testing, and our son has a 99% working memory. And when he was 8 years old, he was doing 10th grade math and speaking multiple languages at a time. And during his testing, during this, he did it in French and long division the entire time. And, it was just this, they couldn't believe it. And
Wow.
I was really, really trying to find him the right place, because he was still reacting and kind of impulse control. He still had a lot of global developmental issues that he was dealing with. but his, splinter skills are like off the charts. And so it's really hard to find a fit. It's so hard to find a fit. And so we just went for hours and hours and did all this testing. We finally thought we had this great plan. We got to the school, and within 4 days of being at the school, I took him out, because not only did I show up and they had switched, all of the teachers we had tested with were at a different school now. Nobody knew who we were, what levels we were at. None of the information had continued over or been carried over to the new staff. So it was like, here we're going to have him in this 4th grade class with 15 other kids and at a 4th grade level. And I was just beside myself, having spent all of this time. And then I was like, you should have listened, right? But yeah, he ended up eloping from that school. Other children eloped from the school, and I saw it happen. And it was like in an industrial part of town. And I just told my husband, this isn't going to work for us. This is done. So that was our last encounter. And like you said, though, it was that intuition that I did not listen to, because here was this chance for my child to get into an autism school finally, to finally get support. But really, it just ended up being a lot of driving.
Oh yeah. And that's so frustrating, especially, you went through all of the testing, you have all the paperwork, and it just makes me think about an experience that I had when I was working at the assisted living facility. We had an individual, she had to go to the hospital, and the staff, for the policy is that, the staff stays with the individual until they're admitted. So I was that person that was at the hospital. And a nurse came by and just kind of like went on the computer and then was like, all right, honey, get out of bed, like open up your eyes, let's go to the bathroom. And I was like, hold up.
Yeah.
Ma'am, she's blind. So telling her to open up her eyes and get up that's no. And it's like, just take a few seconds to read her chart, read her history, and that just goes again, how important for advocates. And, if an individual doesn't have those skills to advocate for themselves, we need the professionals to work in there and do training and, teaching advocacy, across the board is so important in so many settings. And just to have training in the human service field. I have a lot of friends who became nurses, they're all amazing. And I've asked them, have you guys ever had any training, whether it was in college or on the job, working with individuals with disabilities? And they've all said no, so we need more of those conversations. And certainly, I would love to one day even teach college courses to incoming freshmen or freshmen and sophomores about the different jobs that are out there, working. So,
I hope you pursue that. That
Definitely
would be fantastic.
Well, manifesting it right now.
Yay. And I think you'll be pleased to know that I am actually currently working with an autism real estate specialist in my hometown, and we are working with our local children's hospital. She does sensory design. She does room design for sensory. And so we both approached the hospital and said, if you let us change one of your emergency rooms for sensory room, we'll also do training for your staff. So we're in the works of doing that right now with our local children's hospital.
That is so amazing. Yeah. And I remember you talked about that. You touched on it briefly at the roundtable. That is so amazing. I'm incredible. So excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she is already she's a sibling, a co-guardian sibling. So her experience has been lifelong, as far as advocating for her sister. And she also voluntarily trains emergency responders. So we are reaching out to, we're just partnering up in many ways. And so we're reaching out to, a lot of local departments in our areas. And I'm trying to set up some of these trainings, and hopefully I can go and assist and be part of one. I would love to say that I could, have been a part of one. So
I might have to fly out to you guys.
I know, right? And I think that even getting you guys, having a little networking. Talk about that later. Anyways, getting off topic here. No, it's so important that people like you are in the community and doing this out of the kindness of your heart. So thank you. Thank you. What a beautiful, wonderful person you are, Danielle. Just an honor. Do you have any books or events or anything, places that you send people to find you?
Well, right now I'm kind of working on a bunch of things on the side. So I've been working on developing my personal and professional brand. It's called Light Up My Life. And the name comes from, the same individual that I talked about before, she would sing the song You Light Up My Life by Debbie Boone.
Oh.
And it just resonated with me so much because every single individual that I've worked with has been the lights of my life and sparked so much in me to do so much more and to learn more and just to touch on a little bit of everything. So that is something that I'm working on. And within that brand, I just started doing a lot more crafting. Arts and crafts is like my personal go-to that has been repressed for years just because life gets in the way and you don't always you don't always get to do the fun things. So that is just to highlight that everyone has their own unique individual talents, and that is mine. So I'd like to share that with the community. I make all different kinds of things, and to come off of that, last year I had my first tea party. It was for one of my best friends, bachelorette. Yeah. So eventually I would like that to transition to just decorating and just party planning for group homes, assisted living facilities.
That's fantastic.
Halloween, birthdays, whatever. Yeah. So a couple of things like that. So you can find me on Instagram, light up my life _ the inspiration. So that's kind of where I share a little bit of who I am, and show my interests, but also as a way for me to connect with others and to advocate. I'm on TikTok. You can reach me by email, LUML, light up my life, advocate@gmail.com. Definitely would love to connect.
Oh, I love that.
And I can type that out for you too.
I'll have it all typed on the screen and down in no problem. That's part of my job, babe. No, it's so exciting to be able to support you. And I really hope that it goes so successful. And let's after the show, we'll chat about some networking that we can do. And we're just going to have a blast. Awesome. I can tell. I'm so glad. Again. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining the SJ Childs Show. The SJ Childs Show brings value to families through education and resources. But the SJ Childs Show isn't just about me. It's about us as a community. Join me as we help educate and support our community, help bring kindness and love and inclusion to all. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and watch. I really appreciate all the support from all of the viewers and listeners, and I just want to let you know I want you to join me on this journey. Come and follow my social media, and let's do this together. Enjoy the show. Introducing Autism Vehicle Home Safety Kits, Emergency Responder, alert stickers, personal profiles with autism needs and a communication board, masks and earplugs, keeping families and emergency responders educated and safe. Get yours today at sjchilds.org. Helping autism families impact their child's developmental milestones through home relocation, community resources, and home designs. For every 3 homes Natalie Castro sells, she funds and designs a sensory room for a community center servicing individuals with autism. She volunteers to coach law enforcement, first responders, and ER nurses how to have a positive experience for individuals on the autism spectrum. The SJ Childs Show, produced by SJ Childs LLC. Thanks to all my viewers and listeners for your continued love and support. And thank you to the guests of the SJ Child Show. It's been an honor to have you on the show. Thank you to everyone who continues to support me. Go to my social media and let's build this community together through kindness, compassion, and education for others.